With our presence and intention, we make this gathering a sanctuary, a space of dreams and wisdom and beauty where we come to grow, to be healed, to stretch mind and heart, to be challenged, renewed, to be helped in our own continuing struggles for meaning and for love, to help build a world with more justice and mercy in it, to be counted among the hopers and doers. In the face of cynicism, shadows and brutality around us and within, we seek to align ourselves within a community that would affirm rather than despair, that would think and act to bring about a better world rather than simply adjust and succumb. Here we invite the spirit of our own humanity and the healing powers under, around, through and beyond it to give us the nerve and grace, the toughness and sensitivity to search out the truth that frees and the life that makes all things new. These opening words by Jack Mendelsohn welcome all who have gathered this morning for our Sunday service. Welcome to those of you who have gathered in person at Essex Church, to all who are joining us via Zoom from far and wide, and all who are viewing on YouTube at a later date. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Liz Tuckwell. I'm chair of the congregation, and I'll be leading our congregational service today as our Minister Jane is on compassionate leave this week. This morning's service is on the theme of mementos. We'll be reflecting on the importance of those physical objects, keepsakes, trinkets and treasures which hold significance for us. Items which remind us of loved ones, of places we have visited, of special moments in our lives, or even of values we hold. Later in the service, in the bit where there would usually be a sermon, there'll be a chance for you to come up and join in a show and tell of some of your mementos. Even if you haven't brought any with you along with you, it's fine. You can talk about them anyway. And as Jane always says, don't worry, it's an invitation and not an obligation. But it'd be great if you feel able to join in. Let's light our chalice flame now, as we do each week. This simple ritual connects us with Unitarians and Unitarian Universalists the world over, and reminds us of the proudly progressive religious tradition of which this gathering is part. We are a people of memory and hope, of faithfulness and liberation. As inheritors of our ancestors' legacies, we hold their stories tenderly, gleaning wisdom from diverse journeys, reuniting hope for the future. Guide us to trust in truth and love as we kindle this flame together. Let's sing together now. Our first hymn is number 194 in the Purple Book, We Light the Flame. For those joining via Zoom, the words will be up on screen. Feel free to stand or sit as you prefer. Let's take those joys and concerns into an extended time of prayer. This prayer is based on some words by Carter Smith. You might want first to adjust your position for comfort. Close your eyes or soften your gaze. There might be a posture that helps you to feel more prayerful. Whatever works for you. Do whatever you need to do to get into the right state of body and mind for us to pray together, to be fully present here and now in this sacred time and space, with ourselves, with each other, and with that which is both within us and beyond us. Spirit of life, God of all love, in whom we live and move and have our being, we turn our full attention to you, the light within and without, as we tune into the depths of this life and with the greater wisdom to which and through which we are all intimately connected. Be with us now as we allow ourselves to drop into the silence and stillness at the very centre of our being. As we gather together this morning, we seek to know grace so that we might honour our interconnectedness with each other and with those who have gone before. When we witness suffering in ourselves and in the world around us, may we know compassion. When we are at a loss for words, when we're unsure of the path ahead, may we be guided by this compassion to be witnesses still, to know and to feel the truth that this human family is suffering and broken, and that it is breaking with every life lost, and with each time someone's dignity is denied. When we find ourselves exhausted and defeated and unsure of where to go, may we keep witnessing, turning ever further towards your still small voice. Remind us too that the experience of suffering does not close us off from the possibility of joy. May we know that our interconnectedness is a miracle, and may it be a refuge for us, felt in the voice of a friend, in the touch of a loved one, in the memories of days spent in good company. May we remain grateful for the goodness we've witnessed and enacted in the world. And may the warmth of our lives together hold us in love as we move into a future that is as uncertain as ever. Spirit of life, God of all love, we ask to know your presence, that you may remind us of what is sacred in each and every precious moment. And in a few moments of shared silence and stillness now, may we speak inwardly of some of those deepest prayers of our hearts, the joys and sorrows we came in carrying in our own lives and the lives of the wider world. Let us each lift up whatever is in our heart today and ask for what we most need. Spirit of life, God of all love, as this time of prayer comes to a close, we offer up our joys and concerns, our hopes and fears, our beauty and brokenness, and we call on you for insight, healing and renewal. As we look forward now to the coming week, help us to live well each day and be our best selves, using our unique gifts in the service of love, justice and peace. Amen. Let's sing together again now. Our next hymn is number 39 in the Purple Book, The Splendour of Creation. The words will be up on screen. Feel free to stand or sit as you prefer.
Good morning, everybody. This piece by Gordon McKeeman is called Tie Tack. It was only written about 20 years ago, but already the idea of a tie tack, or a tie pin, as it's more commonly known here in the UK, is something that these days people could easily grow up without encountering. So just in case anybody might not move in the circles where such things are worn, it's a fancy pin that to hold a necktie in place. There are many relics in our home, objects to which important memories are attached. You probably have some too. Each recalls some journey, event, or person that is part of your life's experience. They're precious on that account, religious objects that summon up powerful recollections. One of my favourites is my tie tack. It's an opal, full of fiery iridescence. The tie tack was an unexpected gift. Its former owner, the donor, came out of the church's worship one Sunday. As I greeted him, I noticed his tie tack and I said to him, "What a beautiful opal." On the spot, he took it off and gave it to me. I was both delighted and chagrined. I took off my tie tack, a UU flaming chalice, that Unitarian Universalist flaming chalice, and gave it to him. It was far from an equal exchange. More important, what he did in that fleeting moment was very, very typical of him. He was a person of whom it could be said, without exaggeration, he'd give you the shirt off his back. He lived quite an ordinary life. He was a salesman of advertising novelties, so he spent much of his time in the car travelling from client to client. He spent a significant portion of his driving time thinking of ways to improve the community. He could be counted on to suggest some modest and simple change that would make a positive and real difference in people's lives. Some of his ideas were real winners, saving much public money and touching many lives with joy and opportunity. My life was one of those. One of the joys associated with wearing necktie is to put on my tie tack. I have quite a few of them, but my opal is always my choice. It's a ritual. I put it on and remember the man who gave it to me. And I resolve to find in this day some opportunity to continue what was his real life's work, doing something simple, modest, and useful to improve the life of the community. Over the many years I have worn my tie tack, many people have admired it. To many of them I have told the story of my acquisition of it and what it means to me. With each telling I have confessed that I ought to give it away, since that's how I obtained it, by admiring it. Someday I know I will give it away, together with its story. Meanwhile, I say that I'm keeping a list of admirers and offering to add the name of another possible recipient. Meanwhile, I keep wearing it and reminding myself of its meaning in my life. Reflecting on one's relics now and then is a useful spiritual discipline. Remembering the events, the persons, the occasions when ordinary things were somehow transformed into religious objects. All around us, there are reminders of the days of our lives, the people whose touch was a blessing, a balm, an invitation, a beckoning to be a better person, deeper, more secure, more daring, more generous, more caring. My tie tack does more, much, much more than hold my tie. On some ordinary day like today, I invite you to consider your relics.
Thanks, Roy. We're moving into a time of meditation now. In a moment, but he's already arrived, I'm going to invite Brian to come up and share a poem with us. The poem speaks of a box of old keepsakes that connect us to the past. This will take us into 3 minutes of silence, which will end with the sound of a bell. Then we'll hear some music from George. So let's each do what we need to get comfortable. Adjust your position if you need to. Put your feet flat on the floor to ground yourself. Close your eyes. As we always say, the words are an offering. Feel free to use this time to meditate in your own way. Take it away, Brian.
Grandpa's Keepsakes by Casey Derengowski. I was up in the attic getting decorations for Mum, shuffling through boxes all covered with dust. She found a stack of discoloured old photos. I spied a chest that she said had been Gramps. I remember him well, so full of stories, he could just about fix anything broken. We cried when he died after plenty of years. He was our link to events of the past. I knew that chest was a treasure for me. I hauled it carefully to the quiet of my room, sat on the floor, the chest at my feet, anxious to explore years long gone by. It was full of clutter, keepsakes and stuff, pictures of Granny. He loved her so. He made her blush, she made him laugh. They'd talk to each other without using words. Within, a pocket knife to cut apples for kids, or initials into our walking sticks. He whittled burrs from chunks of scrap wood, or cleaned his nails against Gram's advice. There was a garter, a ring, and a corncob pipe. A photo of him saving a colt. There were many other things tucked into that box, but too many tears came into my eyes. I treasure that chest now placed on the hearth, as well as the items that had meaning to Gramps. I'll pass on the stories to grandkids and kin, along with these artifacts, so dear to me now.
The Things We Hold Dear by Vanessa Rush Southern. Once, long ago, I attended an informal worship service at church and was surprised to discover that everyone had been asked to bring an object of some personal significance. I dug around frantically in my bag and in my pockets for something to offer the group. Ultimately, I chose the watch I was wearing. The watch is something my aunt had given to me. I wear it every day. Sometimes it is my only adornment. I had never thought about it having significance until that moment, but it does. It was given to me upon my graduation from college. That event was a time that brought friends and family out of the woodwork and out to California. It was a wonderful celebration, a new beginning and a fond farewell. The watch reminds me of that time. It also reminds me of the woman who gave it to me, my Aunt Anne. I lived with Anne in Denver for 6 months when my family relocated from Los Angeles to New York. She had 2 sons and longed for a daughter. For 6 months, I was that daughter, and she spoiled me rotten. When it came time to come to New York, she bought me a new dress and put us up in a fancy hotel. One night, we tried to order sorbet at midnight. When Anne was told that room service stopped at 11 p.m., she told them to deliver the dessert as soon as service reopened in the morning. Sure enough, bright and early the next day, a stunning silver stand with a bowl of raspberry sorbets, cased in ice, arrived at our door. Anne let me eat it for breakfast. This woman was indulgent and adoring and bigger than life to me. The watch she gave me reminds me of her, and in some funny way, teases me into some larger living of my own. I was surprised to derive so much meaning from that watch. I found the process of unearthing its meaning to be so rewarding that I tried an experiment the other day. I asked some women who were coming to dinner to bring with them an object of personal significance. Once they arrived, I asked them to do what I had once done, to find something else of significance that they simply had with them. Out came the most extraordinary array of things: yellowed handkerchiefs and pieces of old woolen blankets, rosaries and wedding rings, worn out sayings on dog-eared cards, and one watch. Once we heard the stories behind these simple objects, we saw that they were not simple at all. Each was rich with meaning. What really lay there were not objects, but the reminders of the grandmothers we knew and loved, or the great-grandmothers we never knew, but whose extraordinary lives made us wish we had, or the men and women we'd grown up admiring. Before us were the spouses and partners we loved and the lives we had built or were building with them. All of these people were reflected in and inextricably a part of a few or otherwise ordinary objects. Again and again, I find it amazing that the material things we truly treasure are not so extraordinary after all. They are merely the things that remind us of the people and places, the hard-won truths, and the ways of living we hold dear. They are mementos of all that is good and beautiful and true in our lives, and we carry them like talismans close by to keep us safe.
Thanks, Shari. So we have about 10 minutes now to share our own brief reflections and experiences on mementos. If you brought something to show and tell, that's great. But even if you haven't, you're welcome to come up and tell us something about a significant keepsake or treasured item. So I invite anyone who wants to join in to come up to the microphone in turn. Please come up to the lectern this time. And we'll do it like our joys and concerns, is that we're going to try and mix and mingle in person and online. So people online can chip in as you'd like, unmute and speak up as you're ready. As always, there's a balance to be struck. I'm not sure how many people want to join in, and I don't want to inhibit anyone sharing, but do please bear in mind how long you're speaking for, so that everyone who wants to join in can get a chance to do so. Just to let you know, this will be by default staying in the service recording. If you want to be edited out, please let Jane know straight after the service so that she can edit the video later this afternoon. And as with everything else, it's an invitation, not an obligation.
I've got 2 little stones. I'm afraid they are very small. I tried to bring some bigger ones, but they didn't have the same significance. So I don't know if you can see anything. One stone has got, is all dull with 2 stripes across, and the other stone is white and grey with a red circle on it. Curve, I should say. And I only picked them up last month. I went from Babicombe in Devon down the funicular railway down to Oddicombe Beach, where I picked up these stones. And I was on my own and I was watching people all around me, and I felt so present with the little stones, the big stones on the beach, and the sea coming towards me. And I felt at one with the people around me, even though have never spoken to them and didn't know them. And the other thing I have here is a yellow snail shell. So my house, part of the reason I chose my bungalow was because of the yellow bricks. And I quite often see these yellow snails, and there is one living yellow snail residing on my gate at the moment, which I say hello to every time I unlock the gate. And it makes me feel so at home. And in this home where I now live, which I've lived in for 26 years, it's the place I've been happiest, because growing up, my father kept moving us, and it's really lovely to feel settled.
Well, also I have some pebbles from a beach, Lulworth Cove in Dorset, and it's where 15 years ago now, we scattered my husband's ashes, because it was a place we loved to go. And my friends, David and Brian, who often performed here, they have a cottage there. And the vicar from our local area in North London, he came and we had a little get together on the beach and with my 2 daughters. And we just celebrate Ian and say how lucky we were to have him. I met him at 18 in music college, and we just felt we had to, he'd always be part of us, and we wanted him to be. We took him onto the sea there, and that's where we had such happy memories. So that's why I've always kept pebbles. I've got a whole plate full. So, and I give thanks for Ian and all he gave us.
This is something from my handbag, and it's called a Leatherman. Some people might have heard of Leathermans, mans. Anyway, The most useful part is it has some scissors, but it also has a nail file and a little knife as well. And it was given to me by my son, who just loved tools. And so naturally, he would give me a tool. And it's true, I carry it every day. It's tiny enough that if anyone does a bag search, they don't notice it, which is great. And in fact, I quite like that they miss it. And you know how you can get engravings done on gifts, and a certain number of letters are permitted. So my son had written on this, "Mum, love, Phil."
The frame with some dried flowers. They're very special to me. They're about 50 years old. I've always kept them. And the story behind it, I used to work in the French Institute in Edinburgh, and I could only come back in the summer holidays when the institute was closed. The reason why I say that is that I know exactly that these must have been picked in the month of August. And 50 years ago, I was with my father in his car, and we were in the countryside. And then he just stopped the car, and I didn't understand what he was doing. And I waited. And then a few minutes later, he came back with a bunch of flowers for me. And these I will treasure for the rest of my life. Also, I believe it's Father's Day today, isn't it? So to my dad, to my romantic, lovely dad.
I'll just refer to my wedding ring, which of course is a reminder that I'm married to somebody, but it's also a reminder of the extraordinary serendipity in my life to have ended up that these two people, that is me of Jewish heritage, having grown up in a middle-class academic home in New England, and this fellow who grew up in Northern Ireland in the Troubles as a Catholic, that we ended up meeting each other, and that we ended up connecting and being finding that we were suited to each other, and being now married for about 28 years. So yeah, there is it's a reminder that extraordinary connections can be made in unexpected ways.
I have a little crystal here, and I'm not a geologist, but I don't know if they're called fractals or something, but there's like ghosting inside the crystal, and there's like 7 layers, and it almost looks like little mountains inside, and you can come and see it later. But it was for a trip of a lifetime. I went to Machu Picchu in Peru, and it's an awesome place. You know, the vistas are extraordinary, and you just feel a little bit about what you said, at one with nature, at one with the awesomeness of life. And this crystal demonstrates that. It's like worlds within worlds, and beauty, and looking up, you know. So I really love this crystal, and it reminds me to appreciate nature in all its forms. Thank you.
Well, I didn't bring my memento today because it's actually a painting I did. My parents gave me a bouquet of flowers one birthday, and I did a painting of it. And I'm not a great painter, but every time I see it, it reminds me of my parents. It reminds me of that birthday. So I don't know. Perhaps if I thought about it, I could have taken a photograph and brought that, but perhaps I'll bring that next time. And now, do we have anyone on Zoom who wants to share? No, I don't think so. Okay. So if everyone who wants to speak has spoken, thank you for your contributions. It's good to get these little insight into each other's lives and the things that matter most to each of us. So now it's time for our last hymn. It's number 90 in the Purple Book. Let us give thanks and praise. So please sing up as best you can for our final hymn today. Thanks to Ramona for tech hosting. Thanks to Janine for co-hosting and welcoming everyone online. Thanks to Roy, Brian and Shari for reading, and to everyone else who contributed to the sharing. Thanks to George for playing for us today. Thanks to Pat for doing coffee and John for greeting. For those of you who are in person, please do stay for a cuppa after the service. It's served in the hall next door. If you're joining on Zoom, please do hang on after for a chat with Janine. If you're here in person today, I encourage you to stay to sing with Margaret at 12:30. These monthly singing classes are free of charge and she can help everyone to make a better sound. We also have our regular online Heart and Soul contemplative spiritual gathering tonight and Friday at 7 p.m. It's a great way to get to know others on a deeper level. Sign up with Jane if you want to get the link, or there's an in-person Heart and Soul with Brian here on Wednesday, this Wednesday coming. Sonia will be here as normal for her near dance class on lunchtime on Friday. And if you want to join us for this month's Better World Book Club, that's meeting on Zoom at 7:30 on Sunday, the 23rd of June. We're exploring the Book of Forgiving by Desmond and Mafo Tutu. Please do pick up a flyer if you're here in person with all the upcoming titles. We've got a few copies of that in the church library if you'd like to borrow one. On Monday, 24th of June, our very own Abby Lorimer is holding a tea time concert here at church for her new chamber music collective, Monday's Child. That's for an hour from 5:30 p.m. It's a pay what you can ticketed event. There's a link to Eventbrite tickets in the Friday email. Sorry, there was a link to Eventbrite tickets on the Friday email. On Saturday, 22nd of June, there'll be a protest march, Restore Nature Now, in London, and a Unitarian group is going. Sarah Tinker and David Carter are going, so if you're interested in going, please speak to them. And David is sitting over there. Next Sunday, we'll be back for a service on life seasons and milestones. That'll be led with Janine Powell, with reflections from me, Sonia Late, and Jennifer Young. Do please join us for that. Details of all our activities are printed on the back of the order of service for you to take away, and also in the Friday email. Please do sign up for the mailing list if you haven't already. This congregation very much has a life beyond Sunday mornings. We encourage you to keep in touch, look out for each other, and do what you can to nurture supportive connections. I think that's everything. Just time for our closing words and closing music now. Our time together ends, but in the days ahead, may the love that gives to life its beauty, the reverence that gives to life its sacredness, and the purpose that gives to life its deep significance be strong within each of us and lead us into ever-deepening relationships with all of life. Amen.